Hello and welcome to this new episode of Open Book Entrepreneur. Today we have Katelyn Silva here with us, and she's a six-time best-selling author of 13 books, some under a pen name, and she's a God-honoring, devoted wife and homeschooling mother of four. So, Katelyn, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Yes, hello, and thank you, Tony, for having me on. It's really exciting, and we connected a little bit, but it's just really great to share with everyone on the podcast. And I know that getting to talk about story and mission and all those types of things is such a great thing to do. So I'm excited to be here.
Great stuff. Yeah, absolutely. So, can you tell us a little bit more about, like, obviously you got all these rewards by writing books and stuff, but how did you actually get into that?
Yeah, so for me, it started very early. I actually learned how to write before I learned how to read. And so my mom was always encouraging me as a child to pursue that. So just a very, very brief moment of it, but my mom actually passed when I was little. And so that was a way that I carried on her legacy, was pursuing that passion for writing. And so I wrote all throughout my life. And when I got into adulthood, then I knew that was what I wanted to do with my life, was the written word. And so I went full force and just wrote my first book, and it didn't do as well as I wanted to, but I learned a lot. And then after that, I kept writing and eventually published my first bestseller, and then learned that process, and went full on into the book world, and just continued to grow from there as opportunity presented itself.
Great, great. Yeah. And then also now you're helping other authors as well. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, basically it was one of those things that it was an unexpected door of opportunity. As I was sharing, I published my first couple of bestsellers, and so that was really a huge thing in my life. And many people around me started asking me, "Hey, you're published, you're a bestseller. What is this? How are you doing this? Can you help me too?" And I was like, "Yeah, and so I started helping people just as a thing to do just for fun. And eventually I realized, oh, this is something that really there's a need in the market for this. And so I really started branching out and helping people do that. And I realized that there's a lot of different competition out there, but it's not all equal. And there's a lot of people that have had, something difficult happen, or they've been burned, or they had a not so great experience. And so I really love coming alongside people, and on one side of the fence, saving people that time and that effort, and that experiencing things the hard way or the bad way to get to the good part, and giving them that shortcut. I know a lot of people do that in business. But then another side of it is I like to help work with people that maybe they've had something that wasn't the best experience they were looking for, but there's still a way to turn it around. And I love to give them the tools to be able to still utilize a book that they maybe already have, or a new book that they're writing, and do it right, and be able to be successful with that, and really create that bigger impact, or bigger income, bigger influence that they're really trying to create through that project.
Great. And can you tell us a little bit more about what actually excites you about what you do?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm always really excited getting to write myself. That's kind of my happy place. But with helping other people, it's kind of the same thing. It never gets old, that moment of, ordering your book and then getting it in the mail and opening the box, and getting to hold it in your hands, and just, I don't know if you've ever had that experience, Tony, but if you haven't, I would encourage you do so, because it just never gets old. And that moment for me of getting to see somebody else take that story that they've worked so hard and that they've dreamed about, and bringing it to life, and actually holding it in their hands, and then getting to hear those first testimonies from other people that read it and share, wow, this really impacted me, or wow, this really stood out to me. It just, there's nothing like it. It really just makes their world, it makes mine, and it just, I love getting to be able to be a part of that for other people's journey.
Great. And speaking of that, I mean, what's one piece of advice you can give to someone who is like thinking for a while about writing a book, but they're maybe either procrastinating or they don't know where to start? What would be advice for them?
Well, that's a great question. So one of the biggest things that I tell people is to really understand that most of the time if you're putting something off, and this applies to so many things besides just writing, but especially with writing, and maybe this person they're not sure where to start, or they keep staring at the blank page, or they feel overwhelmed. They're like, how do I even go about putting this on, putting this down, getting this into something the readers enjoy? I encourage people to recognize there's probably something deeper underneath that. It's not the surface level excuses that you're making. And it's really important to identify what is that underlying root cause. So I have a whole training I do on the root causes of writer's block, but I always encourage people just start. It's important to recognize, okay, if I'm staring at a blank page, maybe sitting down and trying to write in that moment isn't the most effective use of me trying to get this idea out. So maybe I need to talk with a friend and I need to get out those ideas kind of in dialogue. So that way my brain can flow and I can understand how I want to really organize my thoughts. Maybe I need to do some brain dumping, get a journal page, and it's kind of the same thing as that dialogue, but it's with yourself on a paper. And another thing is recognizing maybe I have some fears around this. Maybe I have like fear of success, fear of failure, fear of rejection, or maybe I'm even believing voices that other people have said in my life that that are influencing me now that are they're not really my voice. And so, recognizing that's to be the case and identifying, oh, I don't have to believe those doubts and those fears because that's not really true. And so, you can start to take on those new thoughts, those new beliefs, those new ideas about yourself and your story and apply them to your writing. And so there's different tools and tips, but definitely either having that dialogue, overcoming those fears, and using the tools that are available, whether that be recording or just talking or journaling, brain dumping. Those are really great places to start.
Wonderful, wonderful. And then on top of that, how long does it take for someone to actually write the book or publish it, or if they're working with you?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. So I hate to be vague, but many different projects and books, it really depends on the person and your personal goals. But I will say for the average, if you're writing a business book, if you're writing a how-to book, if you're even writing a fiction book that's not meant to be, the next War and Peace, if it's meant to be just a fun adventure or even a series, usually on average, I would say that with the process that I teach my own method of writing that I've developed over the years, that it takes anywhere from around 90 days up to 6 months, just depending on what your schedule looks like and which tools that you like to use and how you put those together.
Yeah, and then also when as we were in the green room before we started recording, you were mentioning that there are different options now for people to actually write the book. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, if you're coming into this and you haven't written before, or maybe you have written before, but you would like to approach it differently, then I always recommend either considering just, like I said, handwriting it down, or even using your voice. So speaking out your book and recording it can be a really helpful tool in today's technology to just get that onto the page, get it out, really share those ideas somewhere. And then, of course, transcribing them or writing them down, making sure that you're getting those ideas out of your mind and into a more concrete place. And what I've discovered is that in that process of just getting those ideas down and starting to share those thoughts and ideas, it starts to declutter your brain, which is really important because when you're trying to hold on to ideas, writing things like that, your brain actually gets cluttered trying to hold on to all of your book pieces. And so the more that you start to share them, in whatever method that is, that it helps your brain to then start to more get more orderly, more organized, and create new ideas as well. It's kind of like I use this analogy. It's like driving down the road, right? And if you have this long distance, far off in the distance, you really can't see well. It's kind of blurry, right? But then as you get closer, it gets clearer and it gets sharper, and that's how ideas are in your mind as well. So I usually work with people on those specific aspects of writing, teaching them the methods of digging deeper, getting rid of the roots, starting to get idea flow, getting those ideas down on the page, organizing those ideas, and ultimately not staying stuck, because it's really easy to get stuck and then kind of spiral off. And it's really important to stay on track. And that's really where that kind of really consistency and not staying stuck helps people accomplish that goal.
Yeah, and can you also tell us as well, like What's the difference for someone, for example, who is just like trying to work out everything by themselves against like working with someone like you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I want to briefly touch on someone who might be listening that um, maybe has already written a lot, and they really would like more of the support on the publishing side of things. There's definitely that aspect to it as well. So it's not just if you're in the writing phase, it's really if you are at any point in the journey, sometimes having that insight or that expert voice or just that other pair of eyes that kind of sees things from a different perspective or knows what to look out for can be really valuable. So, what I would say to answer the question, to the differentiator, is that working it through on your own, there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be things that you look back and you are thinking, I really wish that I had known what I know now back then. Right. And so working with someone that already has been there, done that multiple times and knows the industry can really help you to not only save time, but really save you that difficulty of learning things the hard way, right? And it's important. It's important to make sure that you do your research well. And I'm saying this whether it's me or anybody else in the industry, it's important to ask questions, right? Do your research, make sure that you have dialogue, have conversations, make sure the person really knows their stuff, make sure they're going to set you up for success. Make sure that they really understand your story and your goals and that they meet you where you are and they're just as committed as you are to achieving those goals in partnership with you. And so one thing that I really love to do is I love to work with people on the back end during the publishing process and teach them not just how to write and publish a book, but how to integrate that book into something bigger, like a business or maybe a ministry, or even just learning how, as an author, if they don't have a whole other thing, right, like courses and things like that, but they want to write more books, how they can really engage with their audience and create a more of that connection and revenue, long term as well.
Great. Katlyn, thank you so much for sharing that. And then on top of that, if someone wants to actually get in touch with you, learn more about what you do or connect to you or find out more about your books, how they can do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of resources, training, all kinds of great materials on wewritebooks.com. And for those that are in that space, that they have questions, they're like, I would love to have kind of a step-by-step guide of what to expect, how to get started, go even deeper with what I've talked about. If you go to wewritebooks.com/10 things, 10 is the numbers, not spelled out, but 10 things, there's a really easy guide that you can get that just starts to take you step by step through that process.
Great. Anyone watching us, you can actually, or listening to this episode, you can check out the links in the description of this episode. They'll be there. And yeah, thank you all for watching, listening. If you liked it, drop us a like, subscribe. And then also, if you have any questions for Katlyn or me, you can ask them in the comments. Katlyn, thank you so much for being a guest today and sharing your story and your insights as well. And see you all in the next episode. All the best and bye bye.